Welcome to the Education module, Navigating HEAR Post-Approval, Phase 4, Publication. As reviewed in the Post-Approval Overview, there are 4 main phases of the post-approval process. In this module, we will dig into the details of the 4th and final phase, Publication. The objectives for today are as follows. First, we want you to understand the steps to publishing the results from HEAR analyses. Second, we want you to be aware of critical deadlines along the way, such as the embargo period. And finally, you should understand how to obtain access to guidance and tools for successfully navigating the post-approval process to publish your results. Let's get started. As in the previous post-approval modules, we will start by looking back to the flowchart that you originally saw in the overview video. This provides a high-level overview of what we will be talking about in this module. Recall that after receiving your results or completing statistical analyses, your data will remain in embargo for 1 year or until you publish your results, whichever occurs first. When working toward publishing, you will need to determine authorship and acknowledge the contributions and funding of NIH and others. Once this manuscript is ready for publication and has been approved by all authors, the manuscript must be registered with HEAR. Let's look a little more deeply. Determining authorship is a critical component of publishing. It is expected that researchers in the HEAR laboratory hubs and data center will be sufficiently involved in the experimental design, sample processing, analysis, and interpretation of data to justify co-authorship on most manuscripts generated through this process. The respective HEAR laboratory hubs and HEAR data center will identify the individuals from their respective institutions that should receive authorship credit for their contributions. All authors should be given final approval of the version to be published and take responsibility for its content. Early discussion of authorship between collaborators is required. Collaborators, including investigators obtaining HEAR laboratory and data analysis services, and HEAR Lab Hub and Data Center researchers, will be responsible for determining who meets the criteria for co-authorship. Potential conflicts of interest, as well as any other publication requirements from collaborators as a part of the consortia participation, should be disclosed at this time. The order of authorship should be agreed to by all authors. Authorship should be reviewed again when initiating the writing of manuscripts, and a written record of this understanding should be distributed to the collaborators. In the event that there is disagreement on authorship, NIH staff will serve as a neutral third-party arbitrator. Acknowledgements are another important step on your road to publishing. At an appropriate place in the manuscript, per the journal requirement, abstract, poster, or presentation, 1 or more statements should specify financial acknowledgement as follows. Research reported in this publication was supported by the National Institutes of Health under award number XXXX. The content is solely the responsibility of the authors and does not necessarily represent the official views of the National Institutes of Health. In addition to financial acknowledgement, statements can include recognition of technical support or other contributions received from the HEAR researchers that do not meet criteria for authorship. Once a manuscript is ready for submission and has been approved by all named authors, the manuscript must be registered with HEAR. This information will only be used for tracking purposes and will not be released to the general public. You've heard us mention that your project data will be subject to an embargo period, and you might be wondering, what does this mean? The data embargo period is a time period during which your project data and laboratory results that have been submitted to the data center for an approved project remain unavailable to the public. Note this is also true for data deposited in the Metabolomics Workbench. All de-identified data from your HEAR project, both epidemiological data and lab results, are made available to the public in the HEAR data repository following the data embargo period. So how long does the embargo period last? The data embargo period lasts 1 year from either the date the final laboratory results dataset has been made available to the HEAR investigator, or the date that the data center returns the first finalized statistical analysis report addressing a minimum of one of the project's specific aims, whichever occurs first. If a manuscript using the HEAR generated laboratory results data is accepted for publication prior to the end of the defined embargo period, the embargo period will end and all de-identified HEAR project-related data, both epidemiological, phenotypic data, and lab results, will be made publicly available. Some tips to keep in mind are: the HEAR Publications Policy document contains verbiage that can be used when acknowledging HEAR resources. And if you have questions about publications policies, reach out to the Coordinating Center at HEAR_CC@westat.com. Additionally, please remember that the Publications Policy document can be found on the HEAR website and is linked here. Note that this and all other links in this module are available as active links in the slides available on the HEAR website. Section 3.3.5 of the HEAR Policies for Access to Services document includes the details of the embargo period. The HEAR Lab Hub and data center researchers will be responsible for determining who meets the criteria for co-authorship. And finally, NIH funding should be acknowledged where appropriate. As a reminder, there is additional information available on the HEAR website, such as how to apply, policies, support documents, and FAQs, as well as a link to the data center portal and data repository, each of which is also linked on this slide. Good luck, and remember, we are here to help.